thank you again. Another beautiful, perfect choice for today. Thank you. And now it's time for our speaker. I know all of you love her as much as I do, those of you at home and those of you who are here. She is always here to give us a passionate, inspiring message. Please help me welcome Rabbi Rachel Short.
Aloha, everybody. Oh, it is the day to cry. That song always makes me cry. It's so beautiful. You know how we like to think that everything's a sign? I have tarot cards in my car at all times. Yeah, okay, that's fine. It is what it is. And they fell out on the way here. And they were like all over. And I was down by my car picking them up as everybody was walking in. I'm like bent over cleaning up tarot cards off the ground. And the person who saw me was like, oh, there must be a sign in that. And I had already put most of them away. And then I looked down and there was one that wasn't down. And it was the card for justice, Ma'at, the Egyptian goddess of balance and justice. And it goes perfectly with what I had already planned to speak about today. I stood up here, I think it was maybe a year or so ago, and said very clearly, I don't feel like because I have a platform to speak that I can speak freely until all beings are free. And I've spoken up for so many other people. I'm now being called to speak up for my own. It's been a really rough few weeks to be a Jew. It's been a really rough few weeks to be a rabbi. Every single person, everywhere I go, is demanding that I comment on Israel and in the Middle East. Anti-Semitism is at an all-time high that no one wants to talk about, that there's synagogues being raided, that there's rabbis being attacked, that this is very, very, very real. Anti-Semitic attacks are up 400% in Great Britain in the past week. Just yesterday, someone was released from CNN because they had tweeted something along the lines of, we need another Hitler. Thousands of people in Italy were hailing Hitler. And it's a rough time to be a Jew. And everybody stood up, including me, for Black Lives Matters after George Floyd and everything else. We stood up for Asian lives when Trump started saying China flu and all that frickin' BS. We've stood up for LGBTQ communities from the very beginning of them being outcast. And now I sit here as a Jew and I'm going, why is no one talking about what's happening to us right now? We always surround you and support you and rally behind you. And what happened to my ancestors didn't even happen 100 years ago. It hasn't even been a decade. And here we see that happening again. And yesterday, blue screens was supposed to be the thing. Remember when everyone's screens on social media went black for Black Lives Matters? And then we had rainbow screens and so on and so forth. Yesterday was supposed to be blue for Jews. Did anyone even know that was a thing? No. The answer is no. And is that okay? No, it's not. And I would be beside myself if I sat there and said, yesterday I was in Kona and I didn't put on my Jewish star necklace to go in somewhere because I was scared. I'm in Hawaii, and everybody wants to say that won't happen here. But I was on a call with Jewish leaders across Hawaii a few weeks ago, and David Lazarus, the head of UH, had a pig head left on his door. We want to think these things aren't happening, but they're happening. And if we don't address them, they're going to keep happening. My mom, in the middle of Missouri, hasn't worn her Jewish star necklace in 2 weeks, she said. Why? Why are we being punished for Israel? That's what I want to know. Why are once again the people, what's happening in the Middle East, caught in the middle of our government? Why are we the ones being hated? That's what I don't understand. And I know some people are going to go, well, Rachel, how can you stand there and talk about the Jews and what the Jews are going through when the Palestinians are going through something horrible too? I agree. What is going on to the Palestinians is absolutely horrible. But one person suffering doesn't mean another person isn't suffering. If one person has cancer and one person has a broken leg, those people both still deserve treatment and healing, right? So we can't sit here and say it isn't crap that Jews right now are getting the brunt end of Israel all over the world. I saw something on the internet the other day, and it said, Jews around the world look to a tiny sliver of land in the Middle East that's been bombarded by over 4,000 rockets in the past 24 hours and still say that's the safest place for us. Sit with that for a moment, because I feel that. That's crazy. And I pulled that card, justice, right? And the Torah teaches tzedek, tzedek tirdov. Justice, justice you shall pursue. We're living in Sodom and Gomorrah right now, guys. We are living in the very times of falls of civilization and where we're being called to something greater. We are all victims of our governments right now. I don't know if anybody wants to wake up to that reality, but the people are the ones suffering. And it's crazy to me when you think back, and I think back to generational trauma and ancestral trauma. This is really just some family stuff. Abraham couldn't get Sarah pregnant in the Bible. We talk about speaking the name this week in Holy Love. So he impregnated Hagar, the handmaid. She had a baby, and then Abraham outcast that baby. That's the bloodline of the Prophet Muhammad. This is so deep, and yet we sit here and think that's what we're fighting for. What's happening in the Middle East, in my opinion, and from what I observed from living there and being there and having friends and families still there, is innocent people are caught in the middle of the system where Hamas takes the money from the people and uses it to bomb Israel, and Israel's expected to either sit there and take it or not defend itself, and it's been going on for as long as we can remember. I was in Israel when they activated the Iron Dome. You have no idea how scary it is to hear bombs fly. But I still felt safe there, because there's something about it that as a Jew, you know that that's where you're safe. I can't explain it. I'm sure it's the way Hawaiians feel about this land. I'm sure it's the way Native Americans feel about their land. There's a connection to our land that is sacred. And no person has a right to it more than anyone. That's not what I'm saying more than anything else. But I'm saying innocent people, specifically Jews who are not in Israel right now, Jews in America, Great Britain, France, Italy, those are the ones suffering because of the decisions of the Israeli government that doesn't even have to do with the Jewish people. We make up less than 0.01% of the population. 0.01%. And yet, anti-Semitic hate crimes are up 400%. I guess I just don't understand how we can all sit here and pretend like this isn't happening. That my ancestors didn't have numbers put on their arms and had to wear yellow stars because they were different. And we're not so far off. I think it's just, where's the support? I'm going to keep saying that. Where is it? Today's a call to action. For some reason, Jews have been grouped in with whatever country they live with, right? People usually think you're American or you're European or whatever. Jewish comes second. And that's because we're so good at assimilating. But unfortunately, that's because we've had to be good at assimilating. Because our ancestors learned in ovens what happens when you don't assimilate. But I am a Jew before I'm an American or a Hawaiian or anything else. That's my blood. That's who I am. We can't change who we are. And I'm not going to live in a world where my ancestors went through what they went through for me to be quiet and afraid. Because that's not justice. And I can't march for black lives. I can't march for gay lives. I can't march for Asian lives. I can't march for anyone unless I'm going to march for myself. And in the past week, unfortunately, that's where I've been called to. Our people need us now. And we've always supported you. I'm pretty sure the book that the majority of people read started with us. We were like, hey, take it. Yeah, it's good stuff. Please share it. Make it better. Go for it. Add a new version. We're cool. Go with it. Right? Sorry, little side joke. Have to lighten it a little bit. But there's nothing light about it. I'm having a rough time finding the light. I'm having a rough time that everybody's hiding under the rug from this one. I'm having a rough time with the fact that people send me things that is so laced in anti-Semitism and hate, and they're so far off the deep end in conspiracy theories they don't even realize it. I'm all about questioning. That's what being a Jew is. Question frickin' everything. All of our books are literally questioning the Bible. But there comes to a point where right and wrong and love and seeing yourself in the other just has to be the only way. And we can't sit here and let our brothers and sisters of any color, any race, any ethnicity hurt anymore. If one of us hurts, we all hurt. And right now, support is needed. We have to talk about this. Social media is the worst thing for anti-Semitism I've ever seen in my entire life. Because there's so many things that can make people so angry that aren't backed in fact in any way. And people just take it and run with it. And they believe it to be true. It's not true. Love is what's true. You want to talk about a flawed system? We're in a system where there's people that can't afford justice. Justice costs money in our system. Let's look at that. In all the systems, we've confused power and money and greed and all of these things that unfortunately have played such a role in anti-Semitism, if we're just going to put it all out on the table, with love, when it's not real at all. What's real is the theme, the holy, holy love. Tzedek, tzedek, tir dov. Justice, justice you shall pursue. The other words that are repeated in the Torah are kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. Holy, holy, holy. Justice is holy. So the knowing you are holy, and therefore those who are like you, aren't like you, and are you, are holy as well, is the truth and the light and the love and the reality. So I'm telling everybody in this room right now, this is a call to action from me, Rabbi Rachel, to anyone who's sitting in this room or who's watching this. Your Jewish friends need you right now. They need you. Whether it's a joke or a comment about Israel or a conspiracy theory about the Rothschilds or whatever, they need you to eliminate that. They need you to speak up and say, we can't do that. That's hate-based. That's anti-Semitism. We cannot confuse anger with Israel with anti-Semitism. And that's what's happening in the world. Ask questions. Ask questions. You know, that's a large part of the reason why I invite all faiths, all belief, all ages to every Ahava Aina event is anti-Semitism. So that people can come and see what we do and know that there's nothing to be afraid of. The fact that that's always in the mind should say enough. This hate's gone on for way too long. Well, I've got a poem, a rap, whatever it is you want to call it, that I'm going to share with all of you. I had like no notes for today, by the way. I just like knew. You know what I mean? You don't need them. It's all from the heart at this point. It's all from a deeper place of like, I guess this is part of the reason God chose me to become a rabbi. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared right now. I'm scared. There's a lot of rabbis being attacked. I'm a very like outspoken vocal rabbi, the only one on the island who's female. And the other one's in Kona. It's a scary time. But I'm not going to be afraid, right? We can't do that. There's no point. And what's even weirder is I have deja vu as I say that because I've stood up here and said those same words. Let's eliminate that fear. It's up to us to help eliminate it for those around us. That's what justice is. I sit behind my phone trying to figure out what to say, but I just keep being called to stop and pray. I keep thinking the world can't get any more cray, but then I'm reminded our ancestors' debts we do pay. We are being called to rise up, find a new way, reconnect to the sacred, be present and stay. Be the rainbow in a world that's gray. Be the light. Keep ego at bay. I know we're all headed towards a new day. Like it or not, come what may. I've said it before, our moral fabric does fray, because it seems nowadays anyone will sway. Forgetting God is still up there, being like, hey, I need you to shine, be the sun ray. Stand up for my people, choose to say nay. The time is now, for in the ground you don't lay. The fear of the other is nothing new, but unfortunately it's really scary, especially for us Jews. I shouldn't have to remind us what we've been through, but I guess it seems it's part of what I was put here to do. With all of the violence, I would think this is the cue to help stand up for us the way we do for you. But for some weird reason, this doesn't seem to be true. How many screens went black? Did you even see any blue? Why do many refuse to look with a different hue when we know that the other is just like us too? We're being treated like animals, trapped in a zoo, when we're the secret sauce for the divine stew. Because under the surface, something does brew, and you chose to be here with no one in lieu. I want to think different. I want to think that we grew, but unfortunately it seems there's only a select few. I don't want to give it energy. I choose love over fear, because I now know more than ever. That's why I chose to be here. But I can't sit quietly when I see so clear where we are headed, what is so near. We have fallen off course, off God's path we did veer, thinking power and money are what moves us up tiers. We ignore reality with drugs and beer as the divine is speaking so crystal clear. History repeating, nowhere near in the rear. There are no accidents. Coincidences aren't mere. Into a new era, we've been called to steer. We have no choice but to shift up a gear. You are needed. Yes, you, my dear. Hate and violence, these things must stop. We don't need to step on others to get to the top. Apparently you can murder people if you're a cop. Over the 10 Commandments, government just hops. We're in a bubble that's about to pop, and we've got to clean it with a really big mop. I choose to stay in the light and hold space for you, and all of the BS I choose to see through. Unfortunately, this stuff is nothing new, but it's time for us to do what we were put here to do. We know how this ends. We've been here, us Jews. We're used to being the victims of what they say on the news, but it gets to a point where you've got nothing to lose, and you know you can't go around. You have to go through. It's time to stand up and make some big moves. Start to see the world with all of its hues. You're being called to wake up. Stop hitting snooze. God is the power. You are the fuse. We're all here together, trying to find our way home, connected as one, like the sand and the stones. We're being called to rise up, put down our phones. Remember, we are spirit in a body on loan. There's no one but you. You can grumble or groan, or you can find inner peace and your power you hone. Because you are the conduit that you can own. You choose your story, the voice and the tone. There are signs everywhere. Nonstop we are shown. We're being called to evolve, though we think we have grown. I feel this calling deep down in my bones, like I'm looking down from above with a spiritual drone. The divine makes it clear we are never alone. I know we've got this, whether we yell or moan, because we've been here before. To this stuff we are prone, which is why we need you to be shalom. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Not necessary. I want to say one thing really quick. My friend Jerry, who's on the board of my synagogue, is here today. His parents were also Holocaust survivors. So if you want to talk to someone firsthand who can tell you those stories, we're blessed to have him on his birthday in our presence. So thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi Rachel. I'm so glad God chose you to be a rabbi. What an important, vital message. Thank you. Thank you.